How have you been?
Good. Slipped into a dimension there.
What?
Slipped into another dimension there. Turned into an interviewer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. It's true. We already said hello, and now I'm saying hello again with the camera rolling and asking you how you're doing.
Good.
Yeah? You've been writing some songs?
Ever since I was 9, when I first started, I was really mad at this guy who was... It was my last time ever playing a sport, baseball, and this guy who I thought was a real jerk, I sat in the outfield and made up a song about how I thought he should die. So I went home and I filled up a tape with 45 minutes worth of songs. And ever since I've been writing songs, lately I've been writing a lot. I write a lot in notebooks, like I go through like a notebook every couple of weeks. And just do writing of all kinds, movie scripts. I do just stuff off the top of my head, like mathematics, all sorts of things.
Do you remember any of those songs that you wrote when you were 9? That song about the guy?
No.
Oh.
I know that one was called Fuck You to Jose.
But you wouldn't know how to play it anymore now?
No, all my songs back then were played like this. But I assumed that I was tuned so that sounded like this. But I have no way of knowing. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Oh.
But yeah, I drew up a little single that had a guy stage diving like upside down in the air, and our single had 5 songs, like the LA punk rock group Mad Society did, who had a 9-year-old singer. But the single was never made. So those songs are just flying around the universe.
Would you mind playing some stuff from that you recently wrote?
Sure. But like when I do shows for this album, I'm gonna do stuff mostly from the age 14 and now. So do you mind if I play one from then?
Fine.
Hailing around you has nothing to do with those snakes and fakes they take we get to live. They think they're that, we think they're that. Are we just came from a red bed, so feelings are sliding wheel. Look at me, we're like pieces of water with blood both seen and unseen. You see, time's the same thing, and I'm living not real. So goodbye, it's a pleasure we've had. That's what you get, that's what you get.
Yeah, it's nice.
Whoa.
So, do you mind talking a little bit about the point when you left the Chili Peppers?
No.
Why did you leave the band?
Because, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons. For one thing, like a year before I quit, like, they knew I wanted to quit. And me and Flea once took a drive to a park after the first 2 months of touring, the American tour, which I was just miserable on. Like, I broke the band code of not bringing your girlfriend along on tour because I just couldn't do it without her. And I was happy whenever, you know, whenever I was on stage and looking at Flea or looking at Chad or looking into my amp and looking at the you know, at all the shapes of sound floating around. But I wasn't happy with anything else, so me and Flea took this drive to the park after that tour, and we were sitting there, and he said, is there anything you like about being in the band? And I said, no, there's nothing I like about being in the band at all. And he goes, nothing. And then I said, nothing except for playing with you. I love you, that's why I'm in the band, because I love playing with you. And he was like, oh, well, God, that's no reason to stay in the band if you're not happy, you know. He says that, but then he forgets it, and, you know, and then, like, for a year, I was doing it, and then they're surprised when I quit, when he knew, even back then, that I wanted to quit, you know. But it's just that we were so close to each other, and it's just like, it's like, just like his marriage or something, you know. If somebody says they want to break up, you don't keep it in your mind all the time when you're with them. So I enjoyed, you know, Flea, but that's about it. I just, you know, is that enough? Do you need me to say more?
I don't know. You think that's enough?
You have any questions to ask me about it? I mean, I could go into specific things and I could insult people, but
no, we don't. I know, unless you feel like doing that.
No, I've done it enough.
Oh, you are not in public though, have you?
No, no. This is the first bit of press I've done since I quit the band. Turn around in a circle, slam into my arms. When I joined the band, I couldn't believe that they, like, wanted to be this other thing than they were, you know? Like, they didn't think, like, I thought of them as huge stars, you know? But to them, they weren't famous yet, you know, and they hadn't made it yet, and they wanted to be as big as Aerosmith or whatever, you know? And I couldn't, like, that was a shock, yeah. But it didn't bother me, I was happy as hell. But I hoped that we would stay at the level that we were at in popularity. So the real shock came when I found out that this record that we had been recording, this music that me and Flea had just gone nuts over for, you know, a few months, was actually going to be in record stores, and there would be a bunch of people going and buying it and then putting it on and listening to that music that we made. It had never occurred to me, literally, I'm serious. It had never entered my head. It was never a thought that went through my head that said, people are going to buy this and listen to it. A lot of people all over the world. Like when I first said it, I said all over the country. And then I realized, Jesus, all over the world. And I said it to Flea like 5 different ways, and he was going, yeah, yeah. And like, I was just like... It helped that I was totally located in the dimension that the music existed as energy, and not the place that the music existed as words or as a you know, or as a thing to entertain people.
remember seeing you in Amsterdam once, and you were real lively and up.
Oh, I wasn't happy at all, man.
No?
No, not at all.
Why not?
Because I didn't want to be there doing press at all. I had to leave like three-quarters of the way into it. I didn't want to go, and Flea was like, well, you have to, because normally him and Anthony would have gone, but they made me go with Anthony, and I was just losing my mind. Like, I feel that when you speak about things, you're diarrheaing all over them, you know. You just ruin whatever you're talking about. And I felt like I was diarrheaing all over this art that was really important to me. And I hated being told that I was a rock star. Oh, so I was saying, so Anthony would not, he felt like he couldn't joke around anymore because I was getting so serious because I was so angry about the whole press thing and the whole rock star thing. And then he would have looked like he didn't have any integrity if he would have just spouted off. So it was a really bad combination, you know. And like, he was scared to say anything like he usually did, which was his thing. And so it was just awful.
You mean he was trying to compensate for...
No, he just imitated me.
Huh?
He would just imitate me, so then, you know, because if I say, like, Van Gogh, blah, 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 and then he says, whip out your cock and show it to my mother, like, you know, it doesn't go together.
Ah,
Anthony!
Velvet Underground.
1, 2, 3.
If you close the door, the night could last forever. Let the sun shine out and say hello to never. All the people are laughing and they're having such fun. I wish it could happen to me. But if you close the door, I never have to see the day again. I never have to see the day again. Once more, I never have to see the day again.
If you're a musician, you're either going to become a cool person or you're going to become, like, you're going to become a good nothing. You're going to know how to be nothing and really understand it, or you're going to be a bad nothing and just a piece of shit. And there's not really any in between if you're a rock star, you know, one or the other.
So what did you think when you heard the news of Kurt Cobain's death?
Dad? Oh, his death?
Death, sorry.
I cried. I don't know why. I don't like his music or anything. It was awful, you know. But about his baby, I don't want to talk about that.
No.
I shouldn't. I just don't think he has very many guts. I just don't see why he wouldn't want to see his daughter grow up, you know. That he wouldn't be excited enough about that to not think of himself. See, that goes back to what we were saying, like, people just start thinking of themselves too much, you know. I don't think it's so much that they become conscious of the world of video and the world of this and that and the world of fame. They just think of themselves, and no matter who you are, whether you're a rock star or you're a garbage man, if you're thinking of yourself all the time, you're not going to be very good at what you do. Or you're not going to be a good nothing. How could you? Like with a baby, you can slam dance with them when they're 2 and they'll love it, and you can tell them funny jokes when they're 2 and they'll love it, and you can teach them about how everybody's an idiot and they'll love it, you know. But you know, it doesn't occur to a lot of people how intense that is, how beautiful it is. Everything like my record is dedicated to Clara. That's what it says on the
His
front.
daughter.
Yeah. She's the smartest person I've ever met, in all seriousness.
She likes to kiss Andy, you know. That's her first boyfriend. John got that for her for her birthday.
Ah, yeah!
What I was thinking about, you know, when heard about Kurt Cobain's death, and we just experienced River Phoenix's death, and before that Hillel Slovak's death. There's this self-destructive thing that happens to people, in this business or something.
Everybody dies. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No?
For instance, in River's case, I think it's more of a shame that that he was doing something he didn't like. I think it's more of a shame that he was born than he died, because he didn't like this life, he didn't like this place, and he's at a better place now. And that's the way. I don't think that death is a big deal. I don't care if I die right now. It doesn't mean I'm self-destructive. I really love life, and I think that's the only way to love life. It starts to separate the boys from the men when you see who's got that inside of them and who doesn't. That's when somebody becomes a good musician and the other person doesn't, is because one is all concerned with the future and the past, and one is just right here, right now, excited, and calm. And sad and doesn't give a fuck. Some people are sad and they're like, oh no, this leads to death.
Acteur River Phoenix, bekend van films als Stand By Me, Running on Empty en My Own Private Idaho, was tot aan zijn dood goed bevriend met de Chili Peppers en John Frusciante.
I live underground in this country. Yeah. In a sense of like, the more experimental, level of lifestyle, yeah, which is just not as interconnected with business or consuming, just what you need, minimalist, and that's provided me with just a different view on it all.
That was short.
Well, I mean, the problem is that I believe very much in the Native American Indians who really owned this land beforehand, and their idea was that a photo can take your soul. And it scares the shit out of me, too, to be frank.
To be in front of a camera?
Oh, it's so frightening.
Oh.
That's why when I'm on set, I never look at the camera. You don't look at the camera.
That's funny.
I'm very frightened right now. I'm dealing with it somehow.
Yeah, you're dealing with it quite well.
But I really am frightened.
Oh.
This is very... yes. A tributary to the Holland imported brewski.
Hops.
Brewski hops yeast. The business always goes for what you do best. And I've just made myself do best in the way I've wanted to. So if they get recognition, like at the Venice Film Festival, the Toronto Film Festival, wherever it is, in France and in Holland, when critics start speaking up and they believe in something, then you have the power to get blowjobs, basically, from the corporate leaders. I mean, I found myself being blown by America's film corporations. It's nice.
Yeah?
Yeah. I come in their fucking lens.
I still want to ask you something about that, what I just said, that self-destructiveness. Because I once talked to Bob Forrest right after he did a big show in Holland, and he climbed up some, I don't know, very high thing, almost fell, and he survived, and he was very crazy.
He was wearing my clothes.
He was wearing your clothes?
That whole tour.
I want to kill myself. I've always been too scared. My life is like sideways rain, just swells around in the air. Been searching most of my life for anything to believe in. Like a cloud of self-esteem, anyone to believe in. Take my body and soul, can't take it anymore. Please stop me, I'm not Set my body and soul. I'll die soon anyways, no one won't have to explain myself.
You serious about that?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that too during the show. You said, who's afraid of
Dying?
dying? You're not?
No. Not really.
So at some point you expressed, you said, during the show, you said you want to give people their money's worth.
Yeah.
That's your idea.
I don't know. You pay a lot of money, you come see bands, and then you can listen to their records. Let's take, for instance, the real rock and rollers. Would you like to end up like Paul McCartney? I'd rather be dead than be Paul McCartney, I'll tell you that. Or Phil Collins, or any of that. And so, you know, just try to... I know it sounds like some melodramatic, ridiculous thing, like trying to be Jim Morrison or whatever, but... Okay, here's the thing.
Ja.
When I was a kid, I read the book, Ladies and Gentlemen, Lenny Bruce, right? When I was 13 years old, all I wanted to do was shoot heroin. Like, that's what I wanted, because that was my idol. And then I found Keith Richards, and I found all these other people, Graham Parsons, all the melodrama that went on through pop culture in America for 20 years. I ate it up, because I didn't have parents, and I didn't have anybody to depend on or to ask questions to. So Lenny Bruce and Graham Parsons and Keith Richards became my role models, right? So
And
then thus, if I live like that, it's not me like consciously getting up in the morning, well, I'm gonna drink and I'm gonna take some drugs. It's just me just because it's the way that I grew up, you know? It's the way that I formed my ideas. Boy, where is this going?
Confession, right?
Okay, you want me to say something soulful? Drugs. I'm a junkie and I love shooting up, and that means I'm self-destructive, and you know, is that good enough?
I don't know. Did you feel it was a true statement? Or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I just look at the pictures. I don't read it. I've just always loved looking at pictures of David Bowie. The only stuff I would read is when I was 17 and I would buy coke on the streets every day. I would, whatever days I was starving, so I didn't have money, but I would manage. And days that I couldn't manage, I would since I really wanted to do coke, I would just look up all the sections in the Bowie biography that I had in the index where it says cocaine, and then just look up all the parts about cocaine and read them, so I would feel like having coke, you know. But yeah, I just am into looking at the pictures.
Why did you...
That's him and Iggy Pop.
All right. Uh-huh. It's a nice one.
They think something's funny.
Why did you want to be on coke so badly then?
Because it's great. Because it made me feel great. And plus, I just thought it was cool. I just thought David Bowie did his coolest stuff when he was on a lot of coke. And that stuff, and that feeling and that image is just the whole reason I got into rock and roll in the first place. Like, bisexuality and drugs were the two things in life that I related to rock and roll in my overall image of it when I was 9 or 10 years old, when I got into punk rock. You know, that was my whole... That was the whole world that I felt within me that wasn't going on around me at school, that made me feel like I had no reason to exist. That in rock and roll, that was part of everyday living, and that gave me a reason to live, to feel like I actually did have a place where other people felt the same feelings for life that I did. And so when I was 17, I had never really done any drugs in my whole life, and moved to Hollywood and decided that instead of practicing guitar 10 to 15 hours a day, which is what I had been doing for 5 years, I was just going to live life and do cocaine and wear makeup every day. I wore makeup every day then. And just, you know, I would go buy it from Mexican guys and be wearing, like, full makeup, you know, and pink pants. And my Mexican guy thought I was cool all the time. Like, I would argue with guys I didn't even know, just like that.
But have you never wondered about this drugs thing, what it is in people, or in somebody like you or others, there's many others, that they have to add this something to their body that changes them and alters them?
Well, every second alters you. Every single thing you've ever seen alters you.
Yeah.
Everything you eat alters you.
Okay, but that's an extreme way of altering yourself.
I don't think so. I think a parent yelling at you is an extreme way of altering yourself. I think somebody kicking you in the thighs is who's your one you look up to as being the role model of masculinity, I think that alters you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're referring to your own parents or what?
No, not necessarily. Oh. I'm referring to everybody's parents, make some sort of mistakes and have some sort of sense of carelessness when it comes to developing their child's sexuality. Mm-hmm. And their brain, like, what's considered smart to the world and parents is like memorizing things and doing good in school. And what I've come to find is what smart is being able to trip out, That's using more parts of your brain. That's your subconscious at work. That's lining up thoughts and doing really intense things to your whole existence here and in all your other lives that are going on simultaneously. That's what smart is, not just memorizing something. A monkey can do that. So drugs just help that. I did it my whole life. Kiss was the first time I really tripped out on music, where it just really took me to a magical place. Mm-hmm. And drugs are just go along with that, Mm-hmm. I don't think of it as any sort of heavy alteration that hurts you. It's like, if I snort a line of coke, like, oh God, that was terrible. I wish I hadn't done that in front of you. Oh, awful. Are you okay? I think I'm gonna be okay.
Okay, but now you just said you're shooting up, you're using heroin. I mean, what about that? That's something pretty heavy, isn't it?
People say so. I don't know what that means, really. Like, I don't think of it as being any sort of naughty thing or anything.
What does it mean to you?
It's just a way of making sure you stay in touch with beauty instead of letting the ugliness of the world corrupt your soul.
And you don't care if that destroys your body or doesn't it?
It doesn't destroy my body. I feel great. If I didn't feel great, I'd change the way I live. I'd start running or something. I feel great. I have lots of energy. I'm writing all the time, writing music all the time, developing my brain, widening my appreciation of art of all kinds, and being a nicer person. Always working on being a nicer person.
And so it's not a habit that you would want to stop?
No, even if addiction didn't exist, I'd still do it exactly the way I've done it.
Eind van het gesprek laat John een nummer horen van zijn nog te verschijnen soloalbum.
The reason I released my record is because there's not that much good music around nowadays. And that was how my friends convinced me. It's like, there's no good music around really now. So, like, the kids are, even though they're excited about the music that's out, I just think they're settling for something that doesn't have the same vibe as, like, Da Vinci. Like, to me, the really good music, like Jane's Addiction and Jimi Hendrix and just things of that caliber, has the same vibe as Da Vinci in my head. Like, there's something in it that ties together all artists from all times. And no bands around now really have it,